Coming up this morning on Wake Up Wazoo, a Washington State University football player pled guilty to a misdemeanor assault on Friday.
Plus, a big recap of a big weekend in golf.
And Lexi and Heidi fill us in on a helpful new app in this week's App of the Week segment. All this and more this morning on Wake Up Wazoo. Good morning, Pullman. I'm Timothy Pham, stepping in for Ben today.
And I'm Brittany Cardoza, stepping in for Megan Abundis. Thanks for waking up with us. So Timbo, big weekend in Pullman. Did your mom come?
You know, she didn't come, but my aunt did come, and I had a lot of other moms that adopted me for the weekend, so definitely didn't feel left out or anything. It was a good time. What about you?
Good. Yeah, my mom did come. It was our last weekend. Our last mom's weekend, so it was a little bit bittersweet. Yeah. But there was great weather and a good show, so it was
did
fun.
You go to Jerry Seinfeld, by the way?
I did, and
yeah,
it was awesome. It was so funny.
Good.
So I was really glad we went. Did you go?
You know, I didn't, but I did hear really good things.
Yeah, my parents have seen him a few times before, and my mom was hoping that he would be just as good as he was 20 years ago, and she said that he was, so.
Good.
Yeah, so we're transitioning to a little bit less of a fun subject. We all know that this is the time in April when our parents start complaining about the headaches of tax season. So it's time for us college students to start thinking about how to file our taxes.
You know, that's right, Brittany. Tomorrow is tax day, and we have some tips for college students filing this year. First, file. Many students think they don't need to file because their parents claim them as a dependent. But if your employer withheld any money from your paychecks this year, you're likely having a refund coming your way.
That's right. Our next tip is to start early. It can be a very, very tedious process, as I'm sure that you have all heard. Right now might be a little bit late since the deadline's tomorrow, but if you start right after the show, you've got a full day to get it done, and just remember next year to start a little bit earlier.
Next, determine where you live. This may sound like an obvious question, but if you're an out-of-state student or you simply work over in Moscow, you could be filing in another state. So you need to determine that information.
So these are just a few of the tips that we have for first-time filers, but you can find a full list of tax advice on a link that we will be tweeting out. It's published by Forbes magazine, and it's a great little guide as to how to get it done on time. So that's about it for our tax talk, but we're going to go over to Amanda Rowley for today's Rowley Report and all of your local news. Amanda, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Brittany. Good morning, Pullman. These are your morning headlines for today's Rowley Report. Washington State University football player accused of punching a teammate pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges in Whitman County Court on Friday. Emmett Suakaleo was originally charged with felony assault in the second degree. Prosecutors asked for a sentence of 30 days in jail. Instead, the judge sentenced Suakaleo to 240 hours of community service and over $1,400 in court fees and costs. $200 of the cost are to be paid to the victim. The freshman defensive lineman is guilty of sucker punching a teammate back in October. The victim had to have his jaw wired shut at a Spokane hospital. In another case at Whitman County Superior Court, a Clarkston woman accused of driving drunk in Pullman last week pleaded not guilty in Whitman County Superior Court on Friday. 53-year-old Cheryl Bynum is charged with felony DUI, felony hit and run, and reckless driving. She's currently in custody with bail set at $100,000. Bynum's trial date is set for May 19th. She was arrested Monday night after driving a van on Grand Avenue going 80 miles per hour, hitting several cars and forcing one driver into a power pole. She has an extensive criminal history, including numerous DUI cases. And Palouse Fire Chief Mike Baggett announced on Friday that the cause of Tuesday's fire is undetermined. Now that's a result after an insurance company and ATF investigators combed through the scene. The blaze destroyed a portion of the 100th block of Main Street where the Palouse Tavern once stood. The fire consumed the newly opened brick wall bar and grill, which had a soft opening Monday night. Volunteers saved the rest of the block, and it has been determined that the wall of the antique shop adjacent to the fire building does not have to come down. Palouse volunteer firefighters cleared the scene Wednesday night at about 7 p.m. after putting out any hot spots left over. Now get ready for an unusually beautiful moon to grace the skies. NASA says that tomorrow at 12:45 a.m. there will be a total lunar eclipse that will turn the moon a bright burnt reddish orange. This is called a blood moon. If you're able to take any pictures of this spectacular view, send them to Wake Up Wazzu on our Twitter at Wake Up Wazzu or on our Facebook page. That's all for your Rolly Report this morning. Right after the break, we'll have your full weather report. Don't go away.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Chris Shaw with your full weather report. It is a gorgeous morning here in Pullman today. Take a look at the sunrise that we enjoyed this morning. The sun is going to continue throughout the day here in Pullman. We're going to get up to a high of 64 degrees and a low of 37. That means if you've been growing out those all-natural leg warmers, it's about time to get rid of those because it's going to be shorts weather very soon. Now let's take a look at the temperatures throughout the state of Washington. Down south, Vancouver is at 68 degrees, Olympia also at 68. The coldest is Port Angeles at 55. As you move farther north, 64 degrees in Seattle, 69 in Wenatchee, and all the way up in Bellingham, 60 degrees. Now, Moses Lake is the warmest at 70, and as I said, over on the eastern side, we're experiencing highs in the mid-60s. Now, let's take a look throughout the country. Los Angeles and Phoenix are looking gorgeous in the high 80s. Forget about catching a cold. I'm worried about catching senioritis right now just thinking about that. Now, let's move a little bit farther east. Minneapolis and Chicago, as you might expect, as you move north, a little colder in the low 50s. It does get warmer, though, folks. Boston is at 58, and down south, Florida City, is at 89, looking a lot like Phoenix. Now, let's take a look at our full forecast through the week here in Pullman. The weather is going to look a lot similar to today. Sun throughout the week, basically, with highs in the 50s. And we're going to get up to 60 in the weekend. Actually, the only problem area is on Sunday. There is some rain in the forecast for that day, so maybe stay inside. But for the rest of the week, unfortunately, you do have to go to class, but when you get out, enjoy that sun because it is going to be warm for most of the week. Now, that is all for the weather report. When we come back, Melinda Lee has your sports. Don't go away.
Hey Coug fans, Melinda Lee here, and I might be tall, but I keep your sports short with your latest look at what's been happening in Cougar athletics. So it was Mom's Weekend here in Pullman, and while a lot of guys struck out with visiting Cougars, the baseball team was in full swing. The Cougs kick-started a sunny weekend with a 3-game series against Oregon State University on Friday. Students and their mothers filled the bleachers to witness this epic conclusion to Game 1. Shortstop Trace Tam Singh with the throwdown to first baseman Patrick McGrath, and the Cougs seal a 4-1 victory over the Beavers. It was a sweet note to kickstart the weekend on, even though OSU dominated Games 2 and 3 of the series the following days. The boys may have taken a beating from the Beavers, but we're starting to see big things coming from the mound and the plate going into this week's games. Well, it was a swing and a miss for Cougar tennis this weekend, too. The 47th ranked Cougars shuffled and served against California and Stanford this weekend at the WSU outdoor tennis courts. Senior Olga Musilovic was actually the lone victor as the team fell 4-1 against the number 6 Bears and 4-0 against the number 7 Cardinals. Ladies, if it makes you feel any better, I can't even win a game of tennis on my Wii without endangering my TV screen with every serve. Now, with these 2 losses this weekend, the Cougs fall to an overall record of 17-10 and a record of 2-7 in the conference. The ladies wrap up their regular season this weekend here in Pullman against the Oregon Ducks. With just under 2 weeks left until this year's Crimson and Gray game, Mike Leach is still looking for his game-winning combo. The boys of Cougar football were in full pads and full intensity beginning week 3 of spring football. Team scrimmages were primarily dominated by the offense, led by returning cornerback Connor Halliday. The Cougar defense struggled against deep passes, but head coach Mike Leach tells us that he believes both sides are just a whisker away from some really big things. We're starting to see the hits and the competition get harder as the spring game gets closer. Heading into week 4, I'll be looking for which players are claiming which spots with just 5 practices left this spring. Mike Leach and the boys hit the field tomorrow as the battle for starting spots this season continues. And if you're like me, you like to yell for your favorite team at the top of your lungs, but let's not forget about the sport that cheers on its athletes with a light whisper and a polite clap. It was all about golf at the 2014 Masters Tournament this weekend. Bubba Watson took home his 2nd green jacket and $1.62 million for winning the Masters. He could probably spare a few tips and a few dollars for our Cougar golf teams that are competing this weekend. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's Sports Scoop. If you have a certain team or athlete you'd like to hear more about, tweet to us at Wake Up Wazoo. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go away. Bridget Larson's up next with your entertainment news.
Good morning and welcome to Bridget's Buzz, bringing you the latest in entertainment news. And in national news, CBS reported Thursday that Stephen Colbert will be taking over for David Letterman as the host of The Late Show. And Jon Stewart commented that he is excited to see Stephen Colbert without needing a cable subscription. Colbert received mounds of support from fellow celebrities on social media. And Mickey Rooney's wife has given up the legal rights to his remains. The legal agreement also banned Rooney's estranged stepson, Chris Aber, from attending the funeral service. Rooney will be laid to rest at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, according to Rooney's conservator, Michael Augustine. And despite a 90-year film career, his estate is only estimated at $18,000, which will all be left to his stepson, Mark Rooney. And former Dancing with the Stars co-host Samantha Harris revealed earlier this week that she has been diagnosed with breast cancer. Harris will be having a double mastectomy as her treatment procedure. People magazine reported that she has not yet told her two daughters about her diagnosis and that she plans to tell them with her husband separately. She is also planning on documenting her treatment journey and will maybe be showing that to her daughters in the future. And Minnie Driver has quit Twitter due to mean comments about an image of her in a swimsuit. ABC News reports that after the star was photographed with her 5-year-old son in Miami while on vacation, she received negative comments about the photo and has since left Twitter altogether. And after the break, meet a pit bull puppy who needs a home. Stay tuned.